Hello, and welcome to the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast. My name is Dr. N. Mason Conklin, and I'm here to help you help your child succeed at the piano. In just a few minutes a week, you can learn the basic musical concepts that will help you supervise and evaluate your child's practice time at home, and learn some tips and tricks to help make that practice time the most effective that it can be. On today's edition of the podcast, we're going to talk about improvisation. First of all, what is improvisation? Well, simply put, improvisation is making up music without having it printed in front of you. You sit down and you play some music right on the spot. Now, a lot of people think that this is a very mysterious, very superhuman ability, and they marvel at people who can just sit down at the piano and make up music. Really, it's not that hard, especially if you start improvisation from the very beginning. We are very careful to make sure that we always include some form of improvisation, usually in every class that we have with our after-school program kids, and we also encourage improvisation with our private students as well. We think that if they grow up knowing that they can make up music on the spot, then they're more likely to continue to make up music on the spot throughout their musical career. So, what are some of the scary aspects about improvisation? Well, if I invited you into my home and sat you down in front of the piano and said, okay, make up some music, would you know what to do? Probably not. And in fact, it's the many options that you have that can paralyze you to not choosing any of them. If you sit down in front of a keyboard that's got 88 keys and you have no idea what it is you're going to be doing, what kind of music you want to make up, the time signature of the music you want to make up, the key, all of those options are just too much for us to understand. But if I brought you into my office, into my studio, and sat you down at the piano, and I said, okay, I want you to play this note whenever you feel like it. And I'm going to play something to go along with it, and all you have to do is play this note whenever you want to. I would venture to say that almost everybody would be able to follow those instructions. And that's really what we do when we teach improvisation. It's much easier if you set up some ground rules from the very beginning, and you make those rules easy to follow, and then the students can play and improvise music within those rules. So, one of the easiest situations we can get into when we're helping students improvise is to limit the notes that they can choose. Instead of saying you can pick any of these 88 keys, we'll say, okay, you're going to improvise, and the three notes that you can use are going to be C, D, and E. Those are the only three notes you can use. You can make up any music you want to, just as long as you use the notes C, D, and E. And so already we've really limited their options. They're not confronted with a choice between one of 88 keys. They're choice between a decision between one of three keys. Another thing we do is we help them to establish a specific rhythm. And that rhythm can help their improvisation sound more unified and sound more like a song. So we might say, okay, you're going to use the key C, D, E, and let's use this rhythm. Short, short, long. And just repeat that rhythm over and over again. And then they can make up music that might sound like this. Short, short, long. Short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short, long. And already it's beginning to sound like a tune that might already exist somewhere. It sounds like a piece of music. Then we also let them know that, yes, we're establishing these rules, but they're somewhat soft rules. We give them the 80-20 option. 80% of the time you should be following the rules. The other times, if your ear wants you to do something else, by all means, go ahead and see if you can match what your ear is asking you to do. So, for most of the time, you need to be using the notes C, D, E and playing short, short, long, but occasionally you may want to try something different. Maybe not short, short, long, maybe short, 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 short. Or maybe you decide you want to see what a black note's going to sound like with that. We have chosen Hal Leonard for our after-school program for many reasons, and one of those reasons is it does incorporate improvisation in the method book. And so let me show you. This is one of the pages, one of several improvisation pages that's in the Hal Leonard book. And this is an improvisation, my own song, using C, D, E. And again, we've already limited our options. We've said, okay, the notes you can use are C, D, and E. And the piano accompaniment that goes with it makes those notes sound really, really great. So I'm going to play the accompaniment that goes along with it on the computer while I improvise. I'm going to do it two different ways. I'm going to do it the first way where I'm just picking from C, D, and E and I don't have a rhythm. And then I'm going to do it the second way where I have a rhythm, and you'll see the difference between the way those two improvisations sound. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the CDE accompaniment. Already kind of tell that what I'm doing doesn't really have much to do with the accompaniment. I've been told to plank up notes on C, D, E, and that's what I'm doing. Part of the problem is I haven't really identified the beat, and I don't have anything that makes it hold together. So I'm going to show you now the second way, using the improvisation guidelines to use a specific rhythm, short, short, long. So I'm going to do that this time. I'm going to do 80-20 rules, so every once in a while I'm going to break my own rules. Used a black note. Do something other than C, D, E. Used a different rhythm. Okay, so that is improvisation. What you want to do is set up some rules, what notes you're going to use, set up a rhythm that you want to follow, and then realize that this is your own sound laboratory. You should follow the rules about 80% of the time, but that other 20%, it's perfectly okay for you to experiment, to try something outside of the rules, and then come back to the rules at least for the end of the song. Okay, that's all for this episode of the Piano Lessons for Parents podcast. Make sure you tune in Wednesday for the practice edition, and we will talk about the importance of practicing slowly. So I'll see you then.